Peace to the universal family. What's good? Let me make sure my sound is up. Peace to the universal family. Welcome back. Thank you all for your patience with me. And first of all, my apologies. I haven't actually come on the live. I've been just doing my one-on-ones the last few sequences. So thank you all for your patience with me. As some of you know, some of you don't know, I recently had a loss in my family. I lost a sibling. I lost my brother. So that's just been heavy, as you would understand. That's been a lot for me to be dealing with, on top of everything else, just processing that and just all the things that come along with that, with family. So my apologies for being MIA for a minute and not coming on the live. But I've been dealing with that. So, but without any further ado, let me catch everybody up. So I've just been doing the one-on-ones the last couple weeks. So for most of my clients, we were able to discuss these topics, but not all of the clients. Some of them had other things going on, and that's okay. Life happens. But let's just do an overview. I'm going to actually just, in order that we get right back on track, what I'm going to do is today I'm going to talk about the letter K, our two topics with letter K, and that was 4 sequences. If you go back to the front of, pardon, I got too many curriculums in my lap. Mentorship and Advocacy Program Almanac. If we go in the beginning, few pages, I've got the 52 topic sequence I came up with. So sequence 21 and 22 were the last 2 Mondays, and those topics were Kidnap and Kinship. Today's topic should be life skills, but I'm actually gonna put a pause on that. So just pause on that. I will hop right into that this Wednesday. So that way we're back on track and keep it moving and continue to refine this process of mentorship and advocacy program. So yeah, we're going to do that on Wednesday. And then also quick update. I don't have a copy of it here, but I have submitted my order for the supplemental journal that goes along with this. It's the same size. It's of course a different art on the cover. And there's a few pages in the front, but for the most part it's blank sheets with ankhs, so that you'll have additional space for note taking when we have our guests on and you want to take notes, or you want to write your own poetry or song lyrics, or write your favorite song lyrics, whatever y'all want to do. You'll have the space to do that, and just keep consistent. So I've got my clients that I work with, but I'm also expanding for other families and those that are just interested. And the idea is that through this we kind of are able to assess the need that's out there, and potentially submit more requests to get more mentors on our team and all of that. So just striving to reach more people. So again, the Mentorship and Advocacy Program Almanac, you can find it at ursaylove.com/mentorship. It should be in the video description below. So if you want to get yours, follow along, you can do that. So let's get right into it. So sequences, like I said, today's 23, sequence 23 out of 52, but we're going to actually review 21 and 22 since I was not on the live last Monday and the Monday prior. So if you in here, this would have been the section here. Oh, and also your homework, if you haven't done it yet, your homework is to do the June horizon. So you're going to see mine's going to start to fill in. I haven't filled everything in advance myself, but the June horizon. So yeah, I need you to complete that task as well. And then any important dates in June, of course, and you've got your weekly planners. So you can go ahead and take your notes right here. So it'll be back. It'll say, well, you'll see right next to where it says May 29th. So it's sequence 21 and sequence 22. So first of all, Kidnap. Let's get a little bit into that topic. We're just going to get right into it, and a brief overview on how this pertains to trafficking, similarities, differences, and just other things in the field pertaining to social services, juvenile justice, dependency, and so forth. So here we go. So some of these notes I took from Cornell University, also Columbia University, just a few places online. So I want to give credit where credit's due always. And so just to give a broad definition of the legal definition of kidnap, it is the unlawful restraint of a person's liberty by force or show of force so as to send the victim into another country. So that's the original definition. Now it is also used domestically, so that was originally in law, considered more international. But under common law, it's considered when taken to another location or concealed. So when it says force or show of force, of course, like they could be forcing them or threatening them with force, right? So that would be considered kidnap. If there's any injury, if there's a bodily injury, if there's an assault, then that would be elevated to a first degree felony, and that would be considered aggravated kidnapping. Now, the terms kidnapping and abduction, those are often used interchangeably. However, there are some differences in the legal definition. Abduction is used more broadly, and it doesn't necessitate force or the threat of force. So more often, abduction is by persuasion. So we'll get more into that in just a moment here. So yeah, by federal law, kidnapping is taking a person or confining a person in a place against their will, and it can be within the state, or it can become a federal crime if it's across state lines. And that can be prosecuted up to 20 years for kidnapping. And then there's also international kidnapping if it occurs outside the country, outside the nation. It gets tricky when parents or other relatives are involved, particularly if it's a parent. Most often, unless there's other criminal activities taking place, more often that comes with a lesser penalty because it's a parent. So it gets very complicated with the family court side of things. Somewhat understandably though, but everything is a case by case, right? Like you would only hope that the parent had good intentions and it was a bad situation. But again, you should never be taking a child in hiding or from the other parent in that sort of situation. Everything should be done, legally. Some of the legal defenses for kidnapping do include consent, if the person agreed to go with them. Also, no intent to use any sort of deadly force. Lack of knowledge or ignorance of the situation. Also, if it's a relative, that's often used as a defense, or insanity, of course. Kidnap is also usually considered when it's usually kidnap the I guess you'd say the motive behind kidnap is usually ransom. To truly be a kidnapping case is usually a ransom, unless this ties into human trafficking, and then it might not be a ransom. They might be kidnapped into human trafficking, right? So then, so instead of the motive being to seek a ransom, the motive may be to trade the person for exploitation or some other commercial gain. So in other words, selling them into labor trafficking or sex trafficking. So, and human trafficking is the second most profitable international crime, and the typical causes of those falling victim to the crime are poverty, lack of opportunity, lack of education, and so forth. So often they are, by persuasion, force, fraud, or coercion, they're basically tricked into being taken by somebody. So circling back to abduction, as I mentioned, abduction is not by force or threat of force. That's more by persuasion, and that's what we more often see, like in family court scenarios, where one parent maybe took the children and didn't report back to the court or inform the other parent of where they were relocating or taking the child, like just a complete communication breakdown. And so the child, of course, went with their parent or their other relative because, by persuasion, it seemed like the right thing to do to them. It was a relative, so they don't really need to be forced. But it was still, if it's still unlawful, if they don't have the full legal custody to do so and all that. And like I said, these cases are tricky, but, always, it's never a good thing to take a child and to conceal them from the other parent. Like if there's some sort of, especially, animosity and all, just all the things you hear about. But, you know, it's just, you should never be hiding the child from the other parent unless there's some very, very serious thing going on. Um, but yeah, anyway, consult your people, consult. You can always consult, actually, if you do have any questions about that. If you do have any questions, if you're going through something like that for the parents, the adults out there, you can always, go down to your local family court and speak, maybe speak with a mediator, see if you can speak with a mediator if you're having any sort of issue like that. Prevention, what they say, like an ounce of prevention is worth however much, I don't know the weight, but an ounce of prevention is worth so much more than just striving to figure it out or, resolve the situation later. So that's one avenue I always recommend, is to go down. If you're having those sort of issues with family court, go speak with a mediator at the court, see if they can recommend anything for you. But always better to be on the up and up. You never want to be in a situation where suddenly, and I've seen situations like that where suddenly, a parent thought they were doing the right thing to protect their child, and suddenly they ended up getting arrested and put in jail and on probation, and it just becomes a whole difficult thing, not only for the parent, but of course for the child, So just, yeah. So it's interesting, but all these things, of course, are always factors that will lead to vulnerability for a child as well. So definitely want to make sure everything's on the up and up. The other topic, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. If you have any questions about kidnap versus abduction and so forth. Also, I just want to note another thing that will be really good to review, which I'm not going to get into a whole lot today, but I'm sure I can bring this up in another episode, is to look at your state statutes. We're here in the state of Florida. So if you look in your state statutes, you can find the chapter on proceedings related to children. So that's always good, whether we're talking about family custody situations, but then this also ties into our second subject today, which is kinship, right? So it's always good to review that if you're in this field, if you're working with youth, if you're working in social work, it's good to be up and up and review those statutes so actually what it is by your state law. The knowledge is beneficial. And then also it just helps you to be a better advocate if you're aware of what the law is. And you can share that information because not everybody knows. So that's why I'm recommending it today. So here in the state of Florida, that's chapter 39 for the proceedings related to children. So I wanted to take a few moments, of course, to get into our sequence 22, and that's kinship. And this is a topic also dear to my heart because I was in a kinship situation when I was no longer in the home and I was in my dependency proceeding. I had stayed with a friend and her family before, like, I had already lived with them back and forth for a while. So when I was in that scenario, fortunately, they found out I had court and they showed up and they fought for me. And they were able to get, court appointed custody of me. So that was great. That was definitely a success. That was a win. Not saying my life was perfect after that. I had many bumps in the road, but that was a win. That was a serious win. I was always stable. I mean, like I said, little bumps in the road, but I was always stable when I lived with them. I love them dearly. They love me. They're my family to this day. Don't always keep in touch, but, love them dearly. And so, yeah, kinship care. So essentially kinship care is the full-time care of a child placed in out-of-home care by the court in the home of a relative or fictive kin. So that's, I'm more into the fictive kin, but kinship care, it could be a relative. So it could be an auntie, it could be a grandmother, it could be someone else. So it could be family first, like not the parents, but it could be someone else with kinship. But a fictive kin, that is someone who is unrelated by birth or marriage, but there's a close emotional um, relationship, so that they're pretty much considered family, you know? And it was like that with me when I would stay with my friend and her family. They accepted me like family. Um, and to this day, that that's impacted me my whole life. Um, I don't know. I feel like I thought the same before already, but it's like, when you have that experience, it's just like, you see like family is not just who you're related to by blood. It's not just, who you're related to by marriage, but it's definitely those that show you love. And, you can be family with, you can go through life and build family. So anyway, yes. And also, by Florida law requires that kinship care is considered first. So if the child is being pulled from the home, if they're not able to live with a parent or the other parent, if they're separated, by Florida law, they have to search for another relative first. Or if not another relative, is there a close family friend or possibly a friend that the child could stay with, any situation like that. And the reason for that is that it's better for the child. If they're staying with someone who they already have a bond and a connection with, it's a little bit more, there's more normalcy, there's more consistency there. They've already known that person for a period of time. So there are fewer behavioral or mental health issues in kinship care than in foster care, because once we get into foster care, they're placing the child with someone who was initially a stranger, initially someone that they don't know. And so they've got to start from scratch. They got to get to know each other. Every family, every home is different, cultures, customs, rules, all that, personalities, styles, whether there's other children in the home. So a lot of challenges. It's a blessing when it's successful, but there can be a lot of challenges with that as well. So of course, again, kinship is always considered first in advance to foster care, and the whole goal is to legally, the whole goal is to find a home with legal and emotional permanency for the child. So they're not moving from one place to another, but they're able to be nurtured in one location. Of course, they always, in family court, independency court, rather, always they strive, always the goal is to reunify. That's the first goal, if possible, to reunify with the family, with a parent or the family, the relatives. But for any reason, if that can't happen, it's still that search for that legal and emotional permanency for the child. And that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother conversation, because, here in the state of Florida and all across the nation, really foster homes and just placements in general are lacking. Like there's not enough placements. There's not enough availability for our youth. I can't tell you how many times I've had, my clients, my own girls, or even myself. I mean, back when it was in my time, in my days, I would just get held in a cell, like at a jail, until I could get brought to the wherever I was, the group home or whatever. And even that was without charges. It was just like the transfer, you know what I mean? The part of the transfer process and looking for the placement. But, I can't tell you how many clients I've had to have stay in an office, like not even have proper bedding or whatever, but just didn't have any place to go. And so, yeah, there's a shortage for that. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're an adult out there, of course, this is This is for ages 12 and up. So always something to keep in mind. But for the adults out there, there's always those trainings you can get. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of emotional labor, but it is a labor of love. So if you do have that ability, certainly you can do the trainings, you can educate yourself on that process. Or if you have means, if you're somebody with means, you may be able to donate some of your resources to help families, or to help get some of those placements together. Because sometimes it's also a financial issue. Being able to provide a bigger home, another room, and all of that. So yeah, so a lot of work to do. It's something I'm passionate about. I do not like any child to be left behind or anything like that. So there's a lot of things we can do as a community to um, support one another. And of course, it always comes back to health and wellness and our mental health, our physical health. It all goes hand in hand. And of course, education, so it all goes hand in hand. I apologize. Like I said, today I'm not the most prepared. This is just kind of a review with some of the conversations I've had with other clients about sequence 21 and 22, which is Kidnap and Kinship. So I'm just dropping the info in the chat real quick. So peace to the chat for anyone in the room. And that's the link. I've updated the link on site. As mentioned, Wednesday I will hop back on, so we'll be back on track. We will be focusing on life skills this Wednesday, so we'll be more prepared. And the other announcement is that I did submit my order for the journals that I designed. So for all my clients, they've got the workbook and the journal is on the way. So I'll be delivering those to you this June. And we'll be working on developing more on Wednesdays. So again, Monday is our mentorship and advocacy program. Wednesday, it's still under the same umbrella, but it's our Women's Empowerment Network. So that's the day we're going to be doing more creative things, poetry, memoir writing, that sort of stuff. But also, we're going to be working on getting some guests on. So these different wonderful, powerful, empowering women I'm meeting in the field, I definitely want to get some of them on. So, some of my clients are interested in mentorship. Some of them are interested in whole other fields, or maybe they want to be a lawyer, or maybe they want to be the state attorney, or, other things. So I want to get some powerful women on, and maybe some of our brothers in due time. But, I definitely want to focus on the women's empowerment piece first and foremost. And so yeah, like I said, this Wednesday I'll hop on. We'll build on life skills, but we are slowly building and getting closer. We're going to have those journals soon, and soon we'll see about getting maybe some of my graduates on, or other women in the field. So that is really all I have for you now. Willfully, just take your notes. Like I said, right now, anyways, we've got to do our June assignment. So I need y'all to write what is on the horizon this June, like your routine, your activities, what's on your horizon, and of course the adult coloring. So, and of course, another plug real quick, Friday, the Jazz Flower, we're still on. I haven't been going live on the stream. This is really, it's another hard thing, because I was really striving to collaborate with my brother on that. My brother's a brilliant artist. He's no longer here in the physical, but love him dearly, miss him dearly, and amazing paint, brilliant painter. So he was one I really was wanting to collaborate with. I was building with him last year about that, but he ended up traveling. He was traveling. But I really wanted to collaborate and do that sort of thing where we could have multiple screens and be painting together and sharing that during the Jazz Flower as part of our therapeutic art and education. So more to come, a lot more to come. I'm working on things. I thank you all so much for your patience and understanding with me. And, like I said, some of my clients already had the one-on-one, but I haven't been able to go live for a couple Mondays. So thank you so much for understanding. And I will see you all Wednesday. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Oh, another thing, I started to tell you, and then I stopped. I updated the mentorship page on site. I'm just striving to get everything as streamlined and right there, as possible. So of course the links to the journal and the workbook are there on the site for anyone in the public who's looking for that. But I've also got a submission form. So for my clients, for all of y'all, at least once a month, but really if you can do the submission form. I know we do our one-on-ones, and we speak directly, but if you're able to just hop on there and do a little submission, let me know, just give me feedback, any concept. You can be honest with me, what you like, dislike, what can improve. All of that really helps. It can be short and sweet. It can be long and salty, whatever works for you. But I do have that submission form. It does require email. So most of my clients, I do have your email, but there are a few I do not. So you can always use your parents' email too, or whatever's best. So that's all I got for you. Again, thank you all so much for your patience. Willfully, you're having a wonderful, powerful day. Happy June. Let's get on the June horizon and see if maybe we can even build a little bit about that on Wednesday as we get into life skills. So thank you all again. I come in the name of Earth. Say love. This is the Mentorship and Advocacy Program for young adults ages 12 and up, particularly my young queens. And it's a sacred space. We protect this space. We make sure, we're thoroughly respected and protected in this space. So peace and blessings, y'all, my clients. Let's be in touch. Hit me up. Let's get on our one-on-ones and continue to build. And happy summer. I know most of y'all are done school. So, all right, we'll build in a few. Peace and blessings. Peace, family. Peace. Peace.